I'm gonna go grab the colored pencils I use. So I mainly use Prismacolored Premier pencils. Make sure they are the real deal because they spread like butter. And I'm not saying that you can't use cheaper pencils, but Prismacolor will really heighten everything that you do. Now I'm going to be using this Strathmore colored pencil notebook. You definitely do not need a colored pencil notebook, but the paper in here is specifically meant for the grit to use with the colored pencil. If you have just a regular sketchbook, that will work completely fine too. With colored pencils, you always want them to be as sharp as possible to give you out the best results. I decided to start drawing an apple today. It's pretty basic, but it's easy to explain what I'm doing with, basically. So that little circle in the middle there, I put the light glare, and then now I'm going in with just a basic red to get the shading down. You always want to go in the flow of where your pictures are going, so I am not cross-hatching. I am going in line with how the apple is shaped, which is very important. Now I'm actually going to go in with a darker red brown type of kind of apple. I'm keeping in mind where my shadows are. So on the top left, I actually made a shadow for the leaf. And then I am shading in the bottom and adding the extra little details because apples are not one perfect color. Right now, this is really adding a lot of texture to the shading and the flow that I am putting the pencil in. So say it's going to be a curved, dark shaded line. I am not going to make that line across it. I am literally going to go with the curve to shade it in. And then we have a orange pencil. So as I was taught, you should always add 3 colors or 3 tones to a color with colored pencils to really bring out the life, the vibrance. So I've used red, a dark brownish red, and this orange to add to the apple. And keep in mind that I am also going very light. You can still see the background paper. Keep going light until you are ready and feel confident that the color put down on the paper is going to be the color and flow of the apple that you want. Now I went in with my yellow to add to the reds that are already there and make them a bit warmer. I am putting in yellow anywhere where it's going to be a lighter color, where the sun is hitting the apple or the light ray, whatever it is. Now I went back with that same red and I'm layering on top. So colored pencils is all about layers, which is why it can take literally 30 minutes just to draw an apple like this, because the more layers you add, the more vibrant and realistic it will look. This next tip is super important. I would say it's probably one of the most important tips you could get as an artist is instead of using black for shading, use blue or use green. Black tends to drown out any colors, so if you add black to red, you will not see any of the undertone of red. But with me adding blue to these reds, I can still see that it is a red apple just with dark shading. And actually on the right, I gave you guys a little example. I am shading over the blue with my red color, and you can still see the hint of red and the red tones with that blue. Now, if I did that with a black pencil and a red pencil, all you would see is black or just a darker black. So make sure you always use your blues or greens to create shadow. Again, continue layering those reds, oranges, yellows, all of the warm tones that we are using, and any blues to create shadow. And if you guys need to twist your sketchbook or maneuver it to where you can get the flow of the pencil going with the apple better, please do it. Do not think that you have to keep it in one area. So that is what I did here. And I am just currently making decisions on where to add more red, where to add more yellows, and create more contrast. And now, as you can see, I'm going in on the stem. I'm using brown, and I will soon use greens to make kind of a wilting leaf stem looking thing. And as you can see, the apple has a lot of splotchy marks. It's blurred out right here. I don't know why, but I'm adding orange for it. But you can still see the canvas in the background. Well, not the canvas, the paper. And in this next step, you're really going to want to focus, and it might not be the best way, but for me, this is what I found works best. I love using this white pencil to blend out literally the whole apple. So I'm going to start in my lightest parts to not hopefully spread all the darkness into that glare sun mark. But I love using the white pencil because it really blends everything out to where it looks a lot less splotchy, and you can still draw on top of it as well. There are specific blending pencils that if you like better, you can use those too. I just find that the white actually works pretty well as like a blending stump. So once I feel all of those reds, blues, yellows are blended pretty nicely together, I am going back over with the red to give it a bit more vibrance. And then I'm also putting in more shadows at the bottom with the blue and to the right where the sun isn't hitting. As an artist, you always want to find your light areas and your dark areas, especially if you're trying to do realistic, because everywhere has light, everywhere has darkness, and if you have a shadow that doesn't really portray where the light is hitting correctly, everything's going to look wonky and weird. So make sure in the beginning of your drawing that you really establish where you want the sun to hit and where your shadows are going to be. But basically just continue layering on top of the blending, even though you did just blend it out to keep the vibrance. Now I'm just darkening up that stem, trying to make it look just a bit more realistic while adding green to the blue shadow that I already have on there. If you look up any color wheel, you can actually find out which colors mixed with other colors can make your shadowing. So instead of adding black, which you should never do, you can mix green and red and that'll actually make black if you're painting. So of course that would make sense with coloring as well. Here is what it looks like to add black to red. As you can see, it's drowning out the red behind it and around it and literally just looking like a black blob. Here is our end result. So I hope you guys like that. Please stay tuned for me babbling for the next, 30 seconds, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked that tutorial, and if you want to see more, please make sure to subscribe, comment. Anyways, thank you for participating in this little tutorial, and I hope that was nice, short, sweet, and that it can help you create a little bit more art to add to the world.